Greetings, everybody, and welcome to episode 23 of the Sickcast, aka the Siblings and Cardboard podcast. I'm your host, Donnie, joined by my buddies / co-hosts, Noah and Thomas. Whether you're a veteran card gamer or a first-timer just testing the waters, we are all Siblings in Cardboard. Guys, how have things been since the last time we talked?
Pretty busy. There's a lot of flesh and blood happening right now. And then I have a lot of things in my personal life keeping me busy too. So,
yeah, sorry about that, buddy.
I mean, progress. We're making progress. Related to my mother, but we're making progress, so that's great. And I had a phone call with her, and she's like the happiest and most enthusiastic that she's ever been in like weeks. So
good.
That's good. That's good to be in good spirits. That's awesome.
So I'm in
it's hard to be
good
chronically
spirits.
ill and miserable.
That's fantastic to hear.
And I'm helping write an article for Fabric. I don't know if it'll get approved. But I got challenged to write a article about brute precons, and it's kind of long. I
mean, you're doing the full breakdown on which deck.
Yeah, break down the deck, how to play the hero, how to play the deck, and then how to improve the deck. If you wanted just and that.
Okay.
I was trying to maybe keep it to like 800, 900 words per deck, but it's more looking like 1,200 words per deck.
Are you doing this like,
because really you could write an article about one precon, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
probably.
so I'm trying to write an article about two precons, and they're very different.
And you said you're giving deck suggestions too, like how to modify it if you wanted to make it a little bit better. Yeah,
like if you want to throw some commons and rares into there, like what's some good commons and rares you can do to improve
just
these
pull
decks?
right from heavy hit,
both heavy hitters and previous sets. And then if you have no budget, here's the legendaries you slap into it, some of the majestics you can consider and deck build around. It's funny because like the easiest way to improve the KO deck is just not have many meat decks. like just run Ball Breaker or Mandible Claw, and the deck just goes up like 5% win rate just automatically.
I mean, wow. Okay, that's a pretty easy fix. I mean, Mandible Claw's a token, so that's not hard to get a hold of.
It's weird because the mini meat axe generates the might token right on a stick, but it also like makes you extremely prone to fatigue because you're just milling yourself. And that was a common problem with meat axe, the two-handed meat axe that came out in Monarch. That was Levia's only weapon, unless you just felt really masochistic and wanted to try a hexagore that you pulled. But you would mill yourself swinging meat axes because of the draw card discard effect.
Hexagore will be good one day. Just like
Hexagore's probably fine right now. I don't know if it's better than Mandible Claws, but I don't think Levia becomes unplayable if Mandible Claws like hits Living Legend because someone finds some spicy KO deck that tears through 1,000 Living Legend points in a few seasons.
If anybody could do it, it might be KO. We'll get to that. But he's got that, like, oh boy, those mites and the access to agility is crazy.
I've been playtesting Brute. Some of these new Brute cards are good. It's funny, some of the commons are like the real standouts.
Yeah. Good set. Good set with good power. Fair power, but good power. It's a good balance.
Anyone do anything else interesting in the Flesh and Blood realm?
I mean, we all went to pre-releases, but we're going to get into pre-releases when we get to one of the bigger sections of the pod this week. See, I went to Armory last week, and I think I haven't been to another one since we recorded last week. It was just the last Tuesday, and I just got smacked around playing Guzuri. I'm going to be playing Katsu tomorrow, so we're gonna try something a little different.
I watched a game of Katsu with that new card, and this is only one game watching it played, but he played it one time and it got 9 points. So
wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, the new Katsu card.
Then.
Was he running Art of Wars with it or that instead of it?
I think it was with it, but he hit like a spinning wheel kick off of it, and then got to do the entire combo line, and then throw the spinning wheel kick at the end. So yeah, Ancestral Harmony seems pretty good, and it doesn't seem hard to put in your deck because it is a blue block 3 that costs 0.
Yeah, spinning wheel kick was the first thing that I went to when I started thinking about Ancestral Harmony. Because I've been playing TCG Talk's Breakpoint Katsu list with the leg taps and rising knee thrust. But the first thing that I thought about when I saw Ancestral Harmony was cutting the leg taps and putting the spinning wheel kicks back in, because that's just a lateral transfer, then adding the yellow 100 wins. But the more I think about it, and the more I think about Kasai and the new warriors that are coming, I almost want to go ahead and put the chain ender for spinning wheel kick back in the list, the Cyclone Roundhouse, to banish a random defending card from from every chain link on the combat chain. That seems like it might actually be good. It might actually have some play.
I mean, I would love to see a
I mean,
list with
armor's
that
getting
card.
big.
That card is really cool. So I'd like to see someone roundhouse like a piece of temper equipment off somebody.
Everybody's
You can see it
armor is
tomorrow.
getting
I'm gonna
pretty
try
good. So I don't think it's a bad idea. It makes people have to think about the blocks, and ninjas are usually overblocked sweetly by armor, right?
Yeah, the armor is a pain in the neck.
You could 2-block sync. You could, for that 6 breakpoint that's pesky on some of those 4s that you want to, or full 5, but with snaps, or not snaps, but scales.
Yeah, breaking scales and ancestral.
But yeah. Can you imagine the look on a Kasai player's face when you get the dynamos with the Cyclone Roundhouse?
Or even if you take the grains.
Yeah.
The grains gives them so much momentum.
Or that, even better.
You scoop their grains, because they're not going to block with grains until the very last moment. So it's essentially a battle worn piece, or guard's will too.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of guard's will, there's an interesting interaction with guard's will that I don't think I considered. I think maybe I thought about it, but wasn't sure if it worked. Did you know if you shred Balance of Justice, you get it back at the full 2 value? Because what was its defense when the combat chain ended?
It was 0.
Yeah, it was 0 or lower, right? So
it doesn't. So it can't put. It
goes to check itself.
With counters equal to 0,
and puts 0 counters on itself. So you can't shred it and get rid of it like you can other pieces of equipment, especially temper equipment. That's actually really interesting.
Yeah.
If we see other effects like shred.
It's basically time skipping the block. You're not eliminating the block completely. They're still going to get that value at some point, but yeah, you're kind of just, I'm not dealing with you this turn with a shred.
It means you have to shred the non-equipment if it's, you know what I mean? Like, you just shred the other card, but it does keep you from like losing that piece because it gets shredded. It's not shreddable, which is kind of neat. That might have, it might have more value later, like you guys said. I like that headpiece. I still think it's really good, but that keyword's a little wonky.
I've seen it used.
Is that one of the ones
really
that you were? Is that one of the ones that you were looking up for the market minute?
Yeah.
Oh, does it actually have a real price? I'm interested. I want to know what it is.
We're gonna go off of min maxes. That's a good way to jump into it before we get into the heavy hitter stuff and some other news in the TCG world. But I went off of min-max because they don't have prices on TCG Player right now. There's some pre-seller program, but I think Judge, Jury, Executioner is up there for $50, and I just don't think that that's an accurate price. You know what I mean?
Maybe it is. Maybe it's a rare
foil.
majestic.
I don't know.
Or it's a rare expansion slot, and it's a one-of. So some of those one-ofs go up in price because you only need to buy one, so people market them harder.
And if it's got a Marvel treatment or something, maybe, but $50 for man, not.
Well, let's go through
that deserves a Marvel treatment. The art on that card is really stellar, but
it is.
I'm happy that all the heroes got Marvel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you are.
And we'll talk a little bit about the weird armor. I guess not really weird. I kind of like it in the set, but let's start with Apex Bonebreaker. For Rainbow Foil, they have it listed at $70 for a pre-sale price, which I think is actually pretty fair.
It's bad news for me. I just want, and I want that piece of gear so bad.
Yeah, it's going to go down, and well, I think we were going to play this little thing where we think it's going to go up or down. Rainbow Foils are always going to go down. A lot of the set's going to be open. There's enough one of those Marvel heroes to keep the prices pretty up for now. The boxes, and so. I think some of these cards are going to be highly sought after, and they're going to be meta defining, and so they're going to be good, but they're not going to be scarce, so they're just going to kind of round out. So I think 70 is a little high. It probably drops down to more of the $50 mark, maybe even a little bit lower, but 70 is pretty fair for pre-sale if you want to grab it. I would just wait and see if you open it.
That'll make me feel torn about like
for something.
We're getting a case. I'm getting a case, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also going to Pro Tour. That case could be used for practice. So, but I also want to open it to see if I can get an Apex.
I'll open mine because I don't have to do any practice. But I would save it because that would be super fun to do practice out there. Just to put the cold foil in perspective, which it is sold out right now, which might drive it up or down. It's always hard with pre-sale prices. I'd take a lot of it with a grain of salt. $95 for the cold foil, which is
I would just buy the
fair.
cold foil.
Yeah, it's pretty fair
for sure.
Just pay the extra $25.
Yeah, all day long.
Grains of Blood Spill, the Warrior Equipment chest is $52 pre-sale.
That
Rainbow foil. Yep.
I expected more from that one.
Me too.
I thought the hype for Kasai
seems
was
like a bigger impact than Apex.
So we'll talk about it later with the meta. Again, it's going to be dependent upon how well they do when they have a real test and like there's real CC decks and people are feeling it out. So we'll see.
It's gonna be quick.
The cold foil is $100, and to note, I was talking to Donnie about this before we started recording, that I don't think there are any EAs in this set at all. And I think that's because they wanted to keep the cold foil prices actually real. And if you put an EA in, what you do is you basically say the cold foil is useless because it's no longer max rarity. So why would you even have a cold foil legendary to begin with then? I know they're usually rare enough, but you've set the bar there, so nobody's going to want the cold foil. And we see it with Redback Shroud. It's $220 to $50 for the EA versus $70 for the cold foil. I mean, granted,
like 20 for the
if the card, if granted the card becomes usable, there might be a spike, but then again, the EA also goes up, so it's kind of indicative of that.
And
I like it.
The ultra premium cards in the set then are the Marvel Heroes and the Fable.
Yes, and the Fable actually, we'll get to that because there was pre-sale prices of it. I think you guys are going to be shocked how
I'm not
how cheap it is. Maybe not.
It's cheap.
Oh, it's super cheap.
Really? When
it's not constructed
rarity.
I mean, okay. When I say super cheap, they sold out and their price was $225. So I don't know how many they put in a stock. That's cheap to me. In my opinion.
I think the fact that they sold out at $225 means they probably underpriced them just a little bit, because that's an expensive card that does nothing.
It does absolutely nothing. So
it does things in UPF, and UPF is a fun format. It does
some really funny things in UPF, especially when you start getting like 5 to 6 to 7 players where you're just sniping someone across the table.
Yeah,
and get a gold token for it.
I think I don't think it goes up. I think if anything, it maybe has an initial high surge because it's being sought after. But as more and more get open, it's just going to drive itself down. And there's not going to be a big want for it outside of the collectors. There's no real playability unless you're doing some really, uber fun UPF, or you want to add some spice to it, which I think more or less will just keep bringing it down. I mean, it might be really rare and it might sit up there high, but I really can't see it being ever more than $350, at least right now. Down the road, maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong. It could be $500 and everybody's going crazy looking for one. I just don't see it.
Maybe. But these are still pre-sale prices, and
true.
Everything
is
in their
subject to
grandma is
change.
going to be opening packs for the foreseeable future. So
this
those prices,
is going to be a big
will
set.
come down. It's going to be hugely popular.
The Marvel Heroes feel good. We're going to get to those. The Marvel Heroes feel good, but I don't think they feel good enough that you're like robbing them away. Like there's so many, but they feel good enough to be like Angel level, and maybe a little higher, and on some of the adult heroes, depending on how playable they are. So it feels good. Good chase, cards for value without them being so astronomical, because you can't get them.
And they look fantastic.
They look really
some
good.
of their best foiling, because my buddy has like 6 of them, And so I got to see several of them in person.
He's already starting his collection.
I mean, he
Dang.
went to New Zealand and played. I think he said he did like 11 games of Sealed, 11 matches of Sealed while he was there.
I would, if that's, yeah.
So if you're just thinking about his packs, that's 66 packs he opened, not including any prizing.
That's not bad. Again, that might be a little too high. I don't know. We'll see.
That's only ones he saw. We're not including Brandon going around and going, "Yep, I want that."
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to figure out. How many he pulled
Fair
himself, if out of the 66 versus how many he physically bought.
Yeah, because that's less than 3 boxes. So
yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. That's crazy. If there's 6 and anyway. But let's speed through just a little bit. I don't have too many more, but I want to get through the some of the main legendaries, I guess, or just kind of a few to round it out. Balance of Justice is sitting at $70 pre-sale. Probably goes down. And I don't think it's gonna have an initial impact. People are gonna value Crown. I think it's a Crown centric meta. I think you just want your 2 value and you're done.
It'd just be
I don't know if I agree with that.
The effect is so,
I don't know, maybe not.
So marginal. Like it might feel bad from a consumer point of view to spend money on a very marginal side grade.
I mean, it's an extra block though, isn't it? Right? In the long run, it's 3 instead of 2. If you just block it out and don't actually use its effect.
Balance of Justice is 2 blocks. 2
Oh,
blocks.
it's
Just
2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's just you get you actually net
for the effect.
You actually net a card from using Balance of Justice ability if you can.
Yeah,
maybe
so
it has impact.
It is 2 raw block on the defense, but it's also the potential to draw a card on your opponent's power turn. So you have an extra card to block with. So it's most of the time going to be at least 2, but probably 3 additional points of value. I mean, it's most of the time going to be worth 5 points. That's worth a sideboard slot. So I can see a $70 price tag being
that seems
fair.
Seems fair.
I thought it was
gonna be higher.
It's reasonable, but the question is, you guys think it goes higher or lower?
I think it's gonna stay there. That seems reasonable. That's the price I would expect.
It depends on how many of the decks are running it this weekend. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I think it's gonna go a little higher. It's probably gonna be between 80 and 90, I think.
You say this weekend. Is there a battle hardened with the calling and it's classic constructed?
Huh?
Yes,
sure is. Yep.
Well,
the first CC event is going to be at the Battle Hardened in Hartford.
That means we might actually get some real market moves because people are definitely going to make, depending on who's running what, the top 8. We'll get there, but that's definitely going to have a good impact. The cold foil is at $160. I think that's maybe a slightly high. Maybe not. It depends. It could be a rare legendary. I don't know. It's a headpiece. If the headpiece is usable, things like that usually go up. Headpiece is pretty universal, especially because of what it will be replacing. So I could see it becoming at least crown level 200 if it really takes off.
Probably.
Gauntlets of Iron Will, the Guardian equipment arms, they are $40. Rainbow foil, pre-sale, pretty good. I think they're a solid piece. They'll have to find their way in. A lot of people still on Crater's Fist from what I can hear. Who knows? That might not.
I think
might not stay the same.
Gauntlet just feels like so good.
It does. It feels really good.
It gives you a 1-point advantage into those really wide decks. So
I mean, we just talked about Katsu, right? Do you know how frustrating it is to put it down by 1? You buffed it by 1 or with an effect, right? And he puts it down by 1, and so you're still out of breaking scales range.
Yeah. Turns off breaking scales.
Like, that's a problem. That's an actual problem.
Annoying, yes.
And it blocks a breakpoint. It's pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised if that one actually goes up 50-60 and holds there. It's their gloves. 50-60 seems fair.
Could also be like a side grade mentality again too, that you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money on something that is definitely a side grade.
True. I got to remember that there's going to be a lot of this set opening, and I'm comparing it to Grass, which is from Arcane Rising, which isn't even in print anymore. So it's a little different than that.
Grass
So
is
this
probably the best hands in the game, so that's a hard comparison.
$30 maybe. It might actually fall. Like it depends on how many come out. You know what I mean? Tons of them flood the market. You're going to see $25-$30 rainbow foil, maybe even less, unless it starts to make a splash. 30-35 it holds. Kind of like Iron Song Versus right now. The cold foil 105.
Okay.
I think it's a decent price to start at. Arum Aegis is $30 rainbow foil. That's the Guardian equipment offhand. Counts as a gold. It's a Victor specialization.
Yeah, I was supposed to say specifically a Victor specialization.
Yeah, so that's kind of indicative on whether he's good or not. He makes a splash.
We'll see.
We did talk about the deathmatch. I'll skip over that. I'm not going to go through every Marvel hero. I'm just going to talk about the one young and one old kind of hero, just to kind of get an idea. I think Kasai's young right now is pre-selling at 135 for the cold foil. The Marvel, I think that's pretty fair. That's about Angel rarity.
Well, I traded it for more or less.
And so that feels decently fair, right? Again, these are, once you have one, you're done. And so it's going to be one of those cards where the more that pour into the market, the cheaper it's going to be, right? Because there's only so many people that could potentially pick up a new hero.
That depends again on like popularity, right? Because the original Kasai, living legend. So people who want to play Blood on their hands in Blitz, this is the hero that you're going to play.
But there's a finite. You need one. You're done. There can't be like 500 players may switch.
There's
going to be thousands of these cards. Is what I'm, eventually it's going to go down.
Fans. Do you remember at Worlds that the level, like the cheer that went out when they put Kasai up on the screen? People lost it. Yeah, I think
there's going to be a lot of people. But again, once it's just a one-of, and like they seem like a good pull rate is what I'm getting at. I think LSS did a good job. Mm-hmm. They know it's going to be popular, so it's going to $100. I would say I could see it rounding out about 100, 110. It's also Blitz. People play Blitz, some people don't. Now the older hero is at 275 sold out, and I think that would probably be a pretty fair price. She's going to be probably a very popular one. Every hero is going to net a little bit more. So I can't tell you that all your heroes in adult form are going to be 275. It is definitely based upon men and popularity. Kasai seems like she's going to hold right around 250 to 3 seems pretty reasonable, unless there's just a ton of influx of them being pulled. I don't know the pull rates. Somebody else might have the data on it. I haven't really seen it or looked at a lot of box openings because I want to open my box first. And
yeah, we'll get mass box openings later on, like in the first week or two.
What about the Rhinar Marvel? I wondered, like, I felt like he would have been the most expensive one because he's a tried and true. Did he get a Marvel?
I don't think Rhinar got a Marvel.
Rhinar
just got a.
I don't think Rhinar
just got a new Majestic Adult
Marvel. Did he? Yeah,
I don't think he got one.
Okay, I'm sad. I never even checked to see if that was a thing, but that art's so good. Why didn't it get a Marvel?
Because I think he already has a Marvel.
Not of this art.
If they print
art, but I think
that, they literally just destroy the Marvel in there. Like then what would be the point of, you know what I mean?
It's
like,
different art. It's different art. You can choose which one you like better because they're both good.
Art. I mean, it's also in English too, I guess. But I don't know. I that's the only thing I can think of. I don't see.
It's so interesting to me that they commissioned a new art by like the Brute Master Wisnu 10 and did not give it a Marvel.
I don't. I'm looking at it. I mean, I would assume
it doesn't show up. It doesn't show up in February, so I don't think it exists.
I mean, I think it's valid. I mean, could do it. Maybe they're waiting. I don't know. Maybe he comes out again in a third set. Then they give him the Marvel. When he re-intimidates the world with the same hero power in a meta where he can take advantage of it.
He's still not living legend.
And he's still not, and he's just terrorizing people. Yeah, it's good. It'll happen. Re-release him a third time. Give him Marvel.
If he's not powered up enough to start picking up a fair amount of LL points, there's always the expansion slot. I mean, that's its purpose, is to give these heroes a bit of a juice. So
release him in
he's
the
not going to be
expansion
here
slot
forever.
again.
A blue beast
As a
within. How
Marvel.
about that?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems
Ew.
good.
Ew.
Yeah,
No.
Yeah, that'll do it.
No.
Blue beast within. Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing, just blue.
What, like, yeah, with all the agility, what could possibly go wrong? Drawing cards, discarding them for
Can you
free
imagine
for
giving that to
agility
KO?
and intimidation.
No.
Can you imagine giving it to Levia?
Well, it'd be a 5. At blue, it would be a 5.
No, I said the same thing. We're trying to push this guy to living legend, right?
Yeah, we're pushing.
Not changing the stats, changing nothing on the line, just a blue beast within. That's all we're saying.
I guess make it a block 2 or something.
Does beast within block 3?
Yes, it's
okay.
good.
So now it's going to be the only card that in the blue variant it blocks for less. Because usually the attack goes down, but in this the block goes down. I like it.
I mean, it's an awful.
No, they make it a no block.
They'd
make it a no block.
It's a 3 for 6 with nothing on it. It's a terrible attack.
Okay, so so you don't want a blue. You want a blue beast within, but not really a blue beast within. You just want another card like beast within that's blue.
Well,
no, he's literally saying an actual physical reprint of beast within with the blue
It's impossible for that to happen.
All of us Brute players, and not including KO, are always cheering for one more blue 6.
One more blue. When they'll see how KO does, right? You'll see. We'll see. If everybody's good, then Reinhardt specialization blue 6. If the brutes still need help,
Levia doesn't get to use that.
Hold on. If the brutes are
Levia
still
doesn't need anything else,
then they give it to every brute. We'll have to wait and see. The meta is going to be very pertinent on whether or not that more brute cards come out.
Did you have
I think Levia has hit a sweet spot.
us? Did you have anything else for us in the market minute? We can go. We can go talk about heavy hitters impacts.
Go check your Marvel heroes. They're going to vary. I just gave you the size because give you a ceiling of the popular ones. So if yours isn't very popular, likely it'll be a little bit less.
All right, heavy hitters. The pre-release is behind us. When this comes out, we'll be maybe a day or two away from actual release.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
I don't think I've seen a single negative sentiment on Twitter or any social media, any of the Discords I'm in. This is being pretty widely held as one of the most fun sealed formats that's ever been released. If not, there's some people even going far enough to say it's the best. It's the GOAT of all sealed.
It felt good.
You saying that? Yeah, I can't recall a single negative thing I've seen on Twitter either. And I spend a lot of time cruising around on Twitter and Discord and Facebook and all these other flesh and blood related social medias. I haven't seen a single negative thing.
I mean,
you know what?
I have one criticism.
That's surprising, but it's not.
I do have
this
one
set
criticism.
is fantastic.
Reinhardt is basically unplayable.
Yeah.
If you get Show No Mercy, you can play Reinhardt. Because you could just win the game with that card. You could throw it in Arsenal and wait till it just wins. But other than that, it's like, why would you give up the KO ability to keep passing that might token along for some intimidates when people don't want to block with their 2 blocks anyway?
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason.
Yeah.
So I keep thinking
There's
about
got to be a reason
right?
he's in the
because Reinhardt feels like he should be okay on paper. I mean, if you got enough 3 blocks, the intimidate feels pretty good. You're ripping cards that maybe they did want to block with X card and save this card.
And you create a bad
block. Yeah, you create a bad block for them. And so now they're giving up a card or they're taking more damage to hold. So I understand the dynamic, but it's a very hard to, if not impossible to fatigue meta. I mean, there are games that can go to like low cards if you're blocking the chip damage well, if your deck's kind of set up for it. But the problem is then you're not doing the wide stuff. And so if you're not doing the wide stuff, you're not generating the overvalue to rip more cards. And so you're doing this 2 block 2 play, and whoever wins is the one that decides to go wide. And it probably won't be you if your strategy is fatigue. And I learned that because I've tried some fatiguing just to test it out during the sealed
fatigue by
stuff.
blocking in this format.
Yeah, but
Nope.
like I said, I set it up, and in fact, I did almost fatigue KO. Okay, let's be real. It was very
Tell us about it.
close.
I mean, we're in the heavy hitters part. Tell us about your pre-release, Noah.
Well, okay, so the first pre-release I played, all by rights I should have played Olympia because I pulled the helmet, which 3 block in this meta is insane. Like in the sealed meta, it's absolutely cheating. It's a legendary. It doesn't matter if you don't ever use it. It doesn't matter if you literally throw it in front of the pretty much the first 2 breakpoints to keep a hand. It just, the extra life matters. It's cheating. I didn't do it though because that wasn't my plan. I had 3 tests of strengths, and so I decided to clash with Victor. It was fun. I thought I had a pretty good deck, a good mix. I played 2 Kasai's, a Kasai in round 1 that was pretty close. I did activate down but not out. I set it up perfectly, which is a pretty constant strategy I tried to do. I
ever got that card in all 3 of my events.
I had a blue and a red in this particular draft, so it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I was not cheating, but I was using stacked in your favor a lot to create really big block turns with Guardian. I kind of like that card. It's slow, but like I said, I was trying to feel the fatigue out, and so I really did run. I ran him out of cards. The first game, it was pretty much over. And I pinned him with an attack react that I knew was in his arsenal. And so I pretty much just played around it until I let him have it. Second game I played against Kasai, it was our good friend Daniel. It was fun. He's complained I high rolled him a little bit, which I did. I big bopped him for like 14 or something, and he was having a really unfun time off the rip. I won a bunch of clashes because the thing is I had 3 tests of strengths because I can't win the clash. So I literally create the gold, draw the card because it's the first time, and I'm cheating because I've literally thrown a card and replaced it. So I was cheating against him practically.
Yeah, I could see. Normally you want to run Betsy and sealed, but I could see 3 tests of strengths is enough for you to go, oh, my deck looks good enough. I've got a lot of attack actions. And I could simply win the game off of this 1 card 7 3 times.
What I will say is eliminate the amount of whiffs. Make sure like those tested strengths are literally maybe your only whiffs. You have to have a couple of maybe off blues or whatever, but really try to minimize your whiffs and get those big attack actions. You're most likely going to be playing as many block 3s and doing a 2 block 2 play because you're a guardian. You're not getting access to agility unless they somehow clash and wager with you, which you can win. But you're doing the whole kind of I've blocked with my hand, set up my big bop, wait a turn. I block with stack with favor. I only had to give you 1 card, still block 9. That kind of a trade, and then play your hand out if you want to go just slightly wide with one of those like pre-pump action cards. Carrying over vigor and stuff. So I feel like that's a pretty tried and true. And I did try and do that against KO, which was my round 3 opponent. I elected to go first because I had big bops bigger than bigs. I didn't draw it. I drew an all red hand. So I literally started off playing the from literal behind because I couldn't throw any of the red attacks. So I literally had to throw hammer for 3, which is the worst thing I've ever had to do in my life. And Arsenal, the card that plays from Arsenal and gives go again. And then he proceeded to. He had also
it's still not the worst.
Still not
turn
the
0
worst.
setup.
But when you're looking across from Knucklehead, the full set of armor, like it's a problem because he has 3 extra life, and I know exactly where I made a wrong block. I had a big bop that I took damage to play out from Arsenal, and I should have just blocked with the extra card. It came down to a point where I could not play down but not out activated because I couldn't take the hit to keep the necessary resources to throw it. Had I done that, I probably would have been able to tempo swing it because that literally it's debilitating. At the life totals we were at, that was debilitating if it didn't kill him. Then I can pretty much play an okay hand and maybe squeak the win out. Maybe. But he played it really well. KO's devastating and sealed. If the deck is rolling well with those might tokens, the break points keep going on. And if he gets the agility and he comes in with agility 2 mites, it's chaos. It's like a 7 into a 6. It's a 9 into a 6. It's something crazy. And Bear Fangs is hell of a
Bear
card.
Fangs is like the card you really build around even more than like Wild Ride.
Yep. Bear Fangs. That card is so much value. It stonks. The whole
reason I say that is Wild Ride kind of encourages you to make bad choices because you want to keep a wide hand to be able to get the go again. on and use the go again, where Bare Fangs is just always gas. Like you could block down, if it's in your arsenal, you could block down to one card, throw Bare Fangs, and you could be threatening 8 or 9 damage, and you're creating a might token. And in sealed, 2-card 9s and 10s are wild.
Yep. So good first pre-release. Second pre-release, I also forced Victor. Should have played Olympia. It was totally should have played Olympia this time. But I got Miller's Grindstone, and I said, man, maybe there's gonna be lots of Kasai's. I really wanted to have fun. Didn't play a single Kasai. Played all Chaos. Couldn't play it. So that I'm not even going to talk about it. It was miserable all the way through. I won the last one against a newer player, and then I explained to him that you got to set the agility up because that's what makes it threatening. He was doing just one part hands, and you'd never win a Guardian against that. I had 15 or 16 block 3s. You're never going to beat me if that's all you're doing. That's the whole point. I played to beat a deck that was going to do that, and everybody's KO was just running hot, which it should be building right.
And
KO is so good.
My first pre-release, I played Kasai. It's probably my, like, I don't think the deck was bad, but it was the least functional of the 3 decks I played, which is funny when I talk about my my third deck. I think the most notable thing of that night is I died to a lunging press. Yay!
I told you guys.
1 damage.
I saw so many people, by the way. I watched a game literally get taken 3-0. Granted, there was no top prize or anything, but you do want to go 3-0. It's a good, feels good. And so I watched our Arachne winner of last week we talked about on the podcast get lunging pressed. Yeah, so I was like, I told you guys how good that card is.
No, it's great.
It's so silly good
in a format where I think you're often pretty blue starved. You're pretty blue starved.
You are blue starved in the set.
Yes.
Heavily. You are forced into some terrible blues.
Which makes you deck build effectively, I found. Because you're really looking at your cards and being like, yeah, this like yellow lead with power is great and all, but it's a yellow block 2 that I will very, very much be challenged to play anything after it because of how few blues I have in my deck.
Need to keep a smaller card pool too, which kind of defeats the fatigue strategy.
Second deck was Betsy, and that deck slapped, and I didn't expect it to.
Yeah.
I was going to go warrior again because I had some good warrior cards, and I didn't really like my brute cards because I didn't have anything really stand out except I had 4 concusses. That was like my hint that I should probably go. Yeah, I had 2 yellows and 2 blues. I didn't even have a red. I had 2 yellows and 2 blues, but I was like, that's still concuss. And concuss was like my pick of one of the best cards in sealed, and it is. But anyway, I almost went warrior again, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm doing 2 or 3 pre-releases this weekend. I want to try to do a different deck each time. Let's go Betsy. Throw on my adversity set. I don't have good time chapeau. I don't have the boots. I don't have the gauntlet of might. I just have a full set of the adversity set. And I go in, and my round 1, and I called it too. I'm like, I'm building this crappy Betsy deck, and this guy over here who's got the good time chapeau is about to rock my world. And he had bet big. And we played, and I high rolled the crap out of him. I just consistently kept throwing these giant attacks. I had just enough non-attack actions to apply wager to my effects that I was throwing these concusses out with the wager effect attached. I think I had like 2 big bops. I had a blue one and a red one, but that was like just enough, right? I had the blue big bop that kept getting pitched that I can use if we got into this like really scrappy setup that we need to do to lock it out. I had the red big bop that like I got to high roll with like all 3 games.
Red big bop felt good.
Second
felt
match,
really good.
I actually can't remember. I guess I rolled it.
Well, if you can't remember, it must have been pretty too, tried and true the wager and beat down.
Dude, there was a lot of me just going buff, attack, wager, and then they'd swing back on me and I'm like, okay, here's my entire adversity set. Buff, attack, overpower, and then they go and they attack me again. I'm just go no blocks, and I go buff, attack, overpower, and by that time they're dead.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Betsy and sealed feels really good. Blitz, the low health format. Don't know how well it's going to translate to CC. and when we talk about kind of bigger winners and losers in terms of like who's going to make a splash. But I just wanted to put that out there because I think that might hold her back in CC.
My last game was against Sebastian, and he had the absolutely most cracked KO deck I could even imagine in sealed. He had Cast Bones, he had Send Packing, he had like 3 Wild Rides, he had like 3 Bear Fangs.
That's pretty good.
He had some windups. The deck was insane. He even said, and I use the power of my father's credit card, and hits me with like a Wild Ride into a Cast Bones that full on hit all 6 tokens.
No way.
And I'm just like, I am just getting destroyed. But somehow I just kept eking out that value and eking out that value and eking out that value. And I even did a test of vigor and lost because it's KO, but I gotta have the 4 block anyway. But guess what? That turned on the adversity chest. So I still got 2 points of value out the chest piece because I gave him a vigor, which he used, by the way, to hit me with a red pack hunt. Dude, his deck was so good. And I'd have to say I probably wouldn't have won except for the one time I drew a card that turn or that game. He decided not to use his Confront Adversity helmet. I had a pretty like weak turn cycle, so I just cracked a gold to give High Riser +1 and Arsenal the card. I basically set up to Arsenal 1 card and then just threw the High Riser. If he would have blocked with that helmet, but I think he was maybe hoping that I like cracked a gold and went for a big overpower. Just didn't think to block with it, but it came down to a 1-to-1 and we were throwing back and forth. And what I was going into in my pitch stack, I knew I was coming into hands that had at least 1 3-block in it. So if we got to a point where we're just throwing our weapon back and forth at each other, which we did, we got to a point where it was literally, he was Mandible Clawing for 3 and I was High Risering for 3. I managed to block his Mandible Claw with 1 card after I made him block 2 cards on my High Riser, and then that allowed me to keep 3 blues, and that 3 blues, it was a Wage Might and 2 other blues, so I'm just like Wage Might overpower. Yeah, and the game just ended there.
GG's.
Yep.
That's pretty much how you close it out. Yeah, the value, I'm glad you brought that up because I think this is going to be, as that's a very value centric sealed, the meta we're going to be going into I think is very value centric, and I think it's a good meta for newer players because I think this is like what you need to learn. So Heavy Hitters is trying to teach you this value, and I think this meta is about to be about value. We're going to talk about it, but I'm pretty big on this.
Block 3s are absolutely premium. Blues are absolutely premium.
Yep.
And your blues do not have to be your block 3s because a lot of them have like multiple effects, so you can still play them if you get blue heavy. And you just need them to be functional, and then making sure that your like buff and setup cards don't junk your deck up, because you really want to win clashes. And even as a warrior, having a couple big attacks could change the game if you win a clash. I know for my third deck, the most notable thing is I clashed 5 times against a Kasai in my first round and won 0 of them as a KO. I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
I was losing my mind.
That's actually how many was it whiffs or just lower?
Whiffs and evens. And I lost 2. So I had a lot of clash cards. I'm like, this okay. So my KO deck was really weird. How many wild rides did I have? 0. Big old goose egg. I didn't get a single wild ride. I still chose to do KO. How many Bear Fangs did I have?
0.
I had 2.
Okay, I was going for
it. I still went 2 and 1, and then the one that I lost, because I drew the Bear Fangs. I could have literally drawn any other card and might have still won the game, but the Bear Fangs non-block killed me.
But it doesn't block.
But yeah, I revolved my entire deck around just slowly extracting value and then throwing my weapon a lot.
Yeah.
With the occasional extension attack. And then as soon as I see that yellow Bear Fangs, put it in Arsenal and hope that does the work. Yeah, my third deck was not great. The second, my Betsy deck was good.
Yeah, I only got to play in 1 pre-release, and I did not get anything that was really stands out as fantastic. The only majestic I got in my pool was the Boast, I think it is, the blue Guardian block card.
Pretty good and limited.
It's not bad. I mean, I misplayed it when I actually did get an opportunity to block with it. I should have blocked with the Stonewall Impasse, the shield. I ended up playing Betsy. I walked into the pre-release thinking, I want to play Betsy. I don't really know why, but I'm attracted to that hero.
She's
and
cool.
She is really freaking cool.
Hero.
She is really freaking cool.
The art,
but
everything.
Anyway, I walked in there thinking I want to play Betsy, and then I opened up my pool and I'm like, I got a decent number of Guardian cards. I've got nothing's really standing out. Bump it. I'm just run it. Let's see what happens. So I was listening to Arsenal. I think it was Arsenal Pass's pre-release primer on the way down there. So I was aiming for 12 to 15 blues. I think I ended up with like 13 in the deck.
That's good.
And I went 2-1. So it wasn't a bad night. The first round, who did I play? I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember because I saw you. Like I was there, but I don't remember who you played.
I don't remember who I played in round 1. I don't remember the game at all.
I played myself in round 1. I played another Noah, so it was whose last name also starts with the same.
That's the one who killed me with lunging press.
It was mind.
It
was mind blowing.
I remember now. I apologize if this person is listening because I do not remember the name, but it was a brand new player. It was a mirror match. It was a Betsy versus Betsy, and that one came down to the wire. I think we ended the game at 1-1, and I just narrowly eked it out. It really could have gone either way. It was a fantastic game. It was an absolutely fantastic game.
That's it. Do you remember if you went first or second?
I believe I went first.
I think that is the absolutely correct decision with Betsy.
It was not my decision.
Every time.
I didn't win a die roll all night.
They messed up. Dude, going first
everybody
on
put me on the play.
because
I think everybody put me on the play.
If you draw any setup cards, you get to set up, right? You get to throw a big bop with no threat. If you just draw a wage card, you get to wage and overpower it. If they don't have a way to block it, then you get to hit them for damage and get a token to set up with. Dude, Betsy absolutely wants to go first.
In my round 3, that's pretty much exactly what happened. Is I was told I was going first. I found one of the +5 setup cards. Can't remember which one it was. And on my opponent's turn, he was playing KO, and he swung for like 10 or something like that on his turn 0. I blocked for 10 damage. Then on my turn, I swing for 12. So on my first turn cycle, I get 22 points of value out of my hand, and I just high rolled the heck out of him from there. It was not even remotely close. And another great guy, great opponent. I don't like giving names and bad beat stories, but it was a bad beat from his side of the table. It was rude. Round 2, I got beat up by our local buddy Chris. Shout out to Chris. Love you, dude.
I remember you sitting next to me.
I don't want to play you at Armories anymore. I think he's got like a 90% win rate into me. It doesn't matter what hero I'm playing. It doesn't matter what hero he's playing. If I sit down across from him, he's got to buy. That's the way I look at it at this point.
Dude's
he's
a wizard. So good. He's so good.
Yeah, I mean, literally,
great understanding.
He is so
of the
freaking
game.
good. Honestly,
what was he on?
I've said this to a face. He was playing Kasai, and there was one sort of mess up in the game. Neither one of us caught it at the time, but I realized after the fact. He had the parry blade. The sword that can block as an equipment.
Only against a weapon.
Yeah, but we forgot about it. Neither one of us acknowledged it, and he ended up throwing a down but not out, and we both assumed that it had the full buff. Like it was the full down but not out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah,
count
because it counts as an equipment. So we were tied on equipment, so it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't the effect wasn't activated, but we didn't realize it. So that may or may not have had an impact on the game because he had a different line that he could have taken. But yeah, anyway, he got it.
That's a pretty big card. I mean, regardless, it happens as pre-release. But
no, I blocked it out, so it didn't. He didn't get the tokens or any of the benefits from it. Yeah, but you know, I had to give up several things to block it out.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was. Man, honestly, I only got to play in that one pre-release, and I am convinced this is my favorite sealed format in Flesh and Blood, period.
It's
It was
really
so freaking fun.
good. A lot of
It
skill
was
expression.
so much fun.
The deck building like really matters. I like sit down and I build like 2 decks. All the events, I built at least 2 decks. And then decide which one I wanted, which is a really cool feature of this. Is like when you open your 6 packs, you can almost always build all 3 classes. The exception being if you don't get enough blues, you clearly can't play Guardian, right? You kind of have to play Warrior or Brute because they can run a little bit more lean.
But the crossover cards, right? The dual cards really make it a very, and I love how they
fleshes it out.
Sectioned it off. You know, like agility is and might are more centric for the, you know, for brutes, and you don't have access. You know, it feels good. There's an identity behind these split cards in these classes, and it feels good. And of all the comments I've seen on Twitter as well, tons of people sharing polls, lots of really good polls. So again, I don't know if that means that there's just a higher poll, but a lot more people really sharing like good stories. A lot of happy people and people like feeling really excited to pull these Marvel heroes. So good job, LSS.
I did pull a Marvel Kasai.
Absolutely,
she was beautiful. Traded her away though for 3 E-strikes and a black border grass for the Arc Knight, which I feel like is a great deal.
Did you not have E-strikes yet?
Totally fine.
I did not. So I was like, this is my time. I looked at the price and it comes out.
That's like $150 in value for you, which is fantastic.
No, I checked. Yeah, they're running about $29 right now.
Well, 30 is 90 and $60 for grass. Grass is 52, but it might as well be 60. It fluctuates.
Yeah, he said I was getting a good deal out of it, which
that is a very good deal because grass will go up. The Marvel Young will go down.
Watch Young Kasai be S tier in Blitz.
But she'll steamroll out and the card still goes again. It might go for just a minute, but it'll go back down. Again, trust me, guys, the FOMO. Don't worry about it. If you're somebody who's valuing,
I'm perfectly happy.
If you're somebody who's
he wants to complete his cold foil hero collection. I want to have E-Strike, and I do eventually want to finish Vinset.
I actually found a 3rd E-Strike I didn't even know I had. I was so excited. I thought I had to buy one, but I opened up so much random packs that I found. I find so many things lying around. It's crazy. I'm like, there's another Art of War.
The buddy that I traded the Kasai to, I've seen him at his house like open up drawers and there's just raw Command and Conquers in there.
Raw Command and Conquers. Yeah.
What are you doing, man?
Dude, he's the kind of guy who does a like, I want to have 3 CNCs for every deck I could possibly want to play.
And so he deconstructs a deck.
Throws them.
And so the Majestics and Marvels and Legendaries probably end up, he's like, I don't want to be on the desk with like my drink or something. And
so he just like pulls them over. Okay, whatever, go in there. Forgets. I like it. There's so much stuff.
Better in the drawer than on the tabletop, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Keep it safe-ish.
But yeah, good job, LSS. Super fun set. Hopefully a lot of new players out there are getting excited and coming into the scene. And I think it's a good way of saying, will these new heroes have an impact? We can either do that or we can talk a little about the scene.
No,
however you guys want to do it first.
I think we could talk about the impact.
Yeah.
And then finish out about like news and rap. Yeah.
KO's clearly going to have some popularity, and I think he will have an impact.
KO for sure.
We should wait to see with Reinar. He seems always on the cusp of being meta.
Somebody will figure it out, I think.
Did like the cards here, like Bonebreaker Bellow or Show No Mercy, actually push in there? Because I don't necessarily think the like commons and rares with the beat chest mechanic quite get him there, because I don't think you really want to build a whole deck around the beat chest mechanic.
You do have the values there. I'm gonna say I'm gonna sell out completely and say this is a value centric. If Valiant Dynamo is this high, if everybody's trying to get the most out of their 4 cards, if it's going to be using these tokens to make the most value out of 2 and 3 cards, it's all about value. And so Reinhardt is actually a pretty good value deck, and I think his value did get a bit better. I just don't know how much it's going to be better than Levia, who I think is a way better option in terms of fridge option, just due to Carapace and due to being able to do the extension sometimes without agility tokens in cases like
and consume,
Screamer and consume. Being able to play with an extra sort of board, you still get huge value out of defense of the Shadow Realm. So all these tall attacks you're going to be able to block, which is why I don't think Betsy is going to make a big splash. I think Overpower is actually going to be quite handled in CC, just she's going to have to be really unfair to be really unfair, and I think Bravo's already well enough unfair.
Some of the block cards are also really good in finding their way into Classic Constructed as well.
Class of strength or Test of Strength is I mean,
Test of Agility is wild. Like
crazy. Things like that. So again, I feel like that overpower is going to be captured, but don't count Reinhardt out. I put him like B tier. In terms of like super impact, KO I think definitely edges it out, but don't count him out. It's gonna be the same thing with Olympia. Don't count him out.
Like Test of Agility, if we're looking at Reinhardt, if he arsenals a Savage Feast, Test of Agility just automatically gives him like Savage Feast Claw. So the card just enables like a 12 damage, like a 3-card 12 damage turn right off the bat. And you blocked 4 at the same time. And then the agility token in Leviah is also pretty wild too, because now you can do like your non-functional hands, like you have Hungering Slaughter Beast, which doesn't have Go Again, and Slithering Shadowpede, which doesn't have Going Again. Now if you just throw the Test of Agility out, this is a 4-card hand, by the way. You throw the Test of Agility out, block 4, get the agility token, and then you go Hungering Slaughter Beast into Slithering Shadowpede for 13 and turn off Blood Debt. So that was a really, really, really simple, like 17 damage hand with no setup. It was just drawn. It didn't require an arsenal. It didn't require rolling scab skin leathers.
Yeah, it's insane value. Again, like I think that's what we're playing for. Dynamo's in the meta. Big block cards are in the meta. People are blocking. Block cards mean hand value because you can't get it out of arsenal. And so this is and turn extension through these token again. It's set up so perfectly. LSS,
I love the concept of the block
wizards
card
working there.
It's so funny. It's so funny how they came so late into the life of the game, because we've had defense reactions for a while, and they realized defense reactions kind of dig them into this design hole, right? Because the arsenal becomes too powerful in fatigue strategies.
Which is why that Dory card was so needed. Thank you, LSS.
So I really like these block cards that give huge value because you have to use them right then, right?
Yep.
I even think Trounce is even though Trounce is like a really cracked card, I think it's actually completely fair.
100%. You have to win both clashes.
It's a block 3 do nothing. It's a block 3 do nothing. So if your opponent literally like arsenal passes or something and you drew the Trounce, you have to hold the Trounce.
You have to hold that. Yeah, absolutely.
And tell your opponent that you have a Trounce.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's an opportunity cost, as Nathan would say.
So I like it quite a bit. I like the mechanics being brought in. Are any of the heavy hitters heroes going to have an impact? Like I said, KO?
Kasai for sure. And KO.
I think Kasai or Olympia. There could be some weird Olympia build where you use the gold to end the game.
It up the ante is actually extremely unfair. It's still another combo. If you can pay it out correctly, annoying. It is still another combo. And again, it's value. If you've been chipping yourself down, he can finish. He can close the game with it. I don't know, but he feels okay.
I think it's gonna be Kasai.
Definitely Kasai.
I think Olympia really wants to use the axe. He excels more with that, and I think being able to abuse dynamos is what wins you the game.
Yeah, but he's gonna run Hot Streak Centauri just like Kasai would. There's no reason you wouldn't run it.
Who runs Hot Streak Centauri better? Probably Kasai.
Kasai does it because you're not really using the gold mechanic of Olympia then correctly.
No, Kasai does it because she has access to blood on her hands. If you ever let her get 4 copper, the game can just end on the spot at any point.
The ante is blood on her hands.
No, it's not.
Except it's resources, and it's really, yes, it is.
No.
And in some cases, it's actually even crazier because that plus X for how many times you've wagered is actually pretty nuts.
Dude, it's a 2-card 12. That can be more. That like
I don't know. I'm not going to count Olympia out. I think he actually is pretty fair.
So we think that the warriors coming from heavy hitters are probably going to have an impact on the meta. But what about the older warriors? What about Dory and Bolton?
I think they both
how much
got
benefit are they getting?
Significant upgrades.
Bolton definitely gets a little bump. That yellow card that he got, the commanding presence, not commanding presence, it's the other one. Something I can't think of the name of it. I'd have to go Fab area, but it's the only yellow card that came out. That was a warrior attack reaction. That's more for Bolton, but Dory will still probably run one of them. Just to just
the one that
because we
gives
have
go
some
again
yellows.
and on hit and agility. That seems quite strong because you throw the Raiden right after
yeah, it has to be greater than its base, but yes, it gives go again. Target warrior attack with greater attack than its base gets go again. The next time an opposing hero is dealt damage, create an agility.
Well, that is easily a Bolton card.
Yeah,
that
is easily a Bolton card.
And
Commanding
it's
Presence is another
yeah.
card that's like great in Bolton too, because like the downside of it is it's a 1-cost red that doesn't give go again as part of its effect. But with Bolton, if he has Soul, he's making it higher than its base, so he gives the attack go again, and he gets around that disadvantage.
So much armor in this format.
There's a lot of armor.
So I think the Warriors did get a glow up. They still have, their own associated issues where some of them can, maybe it's more Dory and Kasai than others, but they still have their issue of your opponent just going no blocks and hitting you harder in the face than you're hitting them.
Kasai doesn't care about no blocks though. That's the whole deck is set up around Blade Runner. You don't even care if your opponent looks at you.
What I'm saying though is they don't have any disruption. They don't like interact with the opponent's game plan at all.
No, but raw damage does. And if you're literally trying to no block Kasai and you're letting her keep nourishing emptiness out 5-6 card hands because she's gonna abuse it, and she's gonna 3-swing you off of a twinning turn. That's probably going to be hit and run. So you're gonna you're gonna take 15-16 damage.
Kasai is going to run twinning. The deck lists I've seen, they run too lean to spend the resources on twinning and trying to get that one more. Like, because your game plan falls apart if you don't get a gold token if you're running twinning, because you won't ever be able to pay free for the swords. They're not free unless you draw a card.
Yeah, there's plenty of things that let you draw cards in this game.
There are not.
Not as many as you think. That rounds on me.
I mean, for Kasai, there's cash in, and cash in is very easy to use in that deck.
Again, you have to get the gold token. So I guess you could run Royal.
You start Royal. That's what people are,
or Copper.
Yeah,
or Copper.
But
I think people are gonna figure it out.
I gotta tell you, if a Kasai ever burns her Copper for a cash in, I'm gonna celebrate, because that means I don't have to deal with blood on her hands, which is way more scary. Stupid 1-card 12s.
So, next question. Recently, we saw the card guys do their usual set matchups against Team Blue Pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And did you notice? Am I crazy? Willie Bradshaw's list for Prism.
Mm-hmm.
Did he even have the new Numenarus in it? I don't remember seeing it.
He did.
It looked like an Iris deck to me.
It was. It's a switch deck, because you kind of need to go switch into Brute and Guardian. Specifically, like Rhinar, maybe you don't need to KO because the blocking with the 5s don't matter on the combat chain. But with Rhinar and Brute, you can opt to go Iris. So he almost brought that game back after being at a huge deficit at the start. It was a much closer game than I thought it was going to be at the end. The new Prism looks pretty good. I think her biggest weakness is the deck building puzzle of having to run that switch list, right? Because they don't really work with each other that well. The blues you need to pitch to be able to swing with the auras don't really synergize with the game plan of running the new Luminaris, where you want to pitch a yellow, swing with Angel, swing with Herald, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be the challenge. The deck looks crazy
do we
fun,
think
though.
Do we think Prism did actually pick up a win with the Numenarus?
Oh yeah,
Numenarus.
Not to pull it back all the way to the market minute, because I totally forgot about it. I did put the cold foil on there to talk about. It's sitting at $99 pre-sale.
Wow,
as the cold foil.
It's a $99 Majestic.
I look, a lot of Prisms, of Prism simps out there. Okay, I will have to pick one up just because I have to play the deck if it becomes way too good to beat. It's not my fault.
It
It's
has a
just, you know.
chance. I don't know if you guys have played against it much,
Nope.
but the high roll
Actually,
not
potential,
really.
the high roll of that potential of that deck is just absolutely wild. Like it gets to a point
Arclight
where
Sentinel
you're
is a
just like, I
pain.
have to kill the angel, right? And then they throw out an Arclight Sentinel and save the Angel of Erudition. Or you like, I have to kill the angel, and then like you look at it and you're like, I'm about to take like 13 damage to kill this angel. I just need to hit it for 4, but I'm just getting destroyed by these giant heralds coming in at me over and over again. And even though you can maybe pop them, like it's angel into herald, and if you pop that herald, they can just footsteps it and herald again anyway. And by that time, you've blocked with 2 6s. How much of a turn are you going to have?
6s.
You have to spend a whole nother like pitch plus card to get rid of the Angel of Erudition so you don't keep getting rolled. And if they ever get Genesis out and keep it, you could maybe just concede.
Life is hard.
Yeah, because they have the soul every turn to keep using Angel of Erudition.
Let's see. What else was a big winner from heavy
Guardians.
hitters?
Let's finish out. Do we think Victor
Okay.
and Betsy? And again,
Betsy,
I'll
no.
say Betsy. Betsy, no. Again, Overpower isn't as unfair as Dominate. Just not at all. There are. I mean,
It's not.
and I know I'm
Betsy's a
speaking
placeholder
from
for Bravo to Living Legend.
Yeah.
And then
and
they'll
she'll
probably
get-
give
Yeah.
her some more powerful cards when
Yep.
he does Living Legend.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Gonna be your sealed and limited high roll though. I think.
Oh, excellent
to a
and
T.
sealed.
Probably
Probably
okay in draft
really
too.
strong in
Cracked.
draft. Probably really strong
Yeah.
in draft too.
Oh yeah.
I don't have any
Victor-
experience, so can't say.
Will play CC though. Victor can play CC in my opinion. Don't know how high of a level he can, but I think if you have good enough matchups with the Clash and abusing that Miller's Grindstone, I think it's actually going to be a
So-
problem for some decks.
Victor's value engine is absolutely wild, but you have to play your pitch stack. You have to know your pitch stack and track it. That's something a lot of
That's-
players aren't going to want to do. And
That's-
then
well,
you have
that's the
some very
Bravo.
polarizing matchups. I'm trying to think. You know what's crazy? That's a bad matchup. Imagine having a bad matchup to Tech Levasan. Victor's just too slow and doesn't have disruptions. And everything Victor throws, Tech Levasan can block out except for literally Golden Sun. Because that he has nothing else. He has nothing else that can hit the Tech Levasan except for Golden Sun, because Overpower interacts with the armor so that he can't, since it's a action card, he can't block with it.
And Tech Levasan is never really losing value if you think about it. Even if he gets pummeled randomly, right, and he discards like, oh, my equipment, right, he just scraps it out later and plays it. So
yeah, exactly.
it's
your
it's not
value
like
engine's not beating his value engine.
yeah.
And then once
you're not, yeah.
Dude, I was watching a Victor play against a Tech Levasan, and the Victor was a good player, but the Tech Levasan got to this point where he switched to Singularity, and you think, oh man, he's about to kill him with the hero power. Nope. The very next turn, he triple Terminator tanked him for 27.
Wow.
So he had the Terminator tank in Arsenal, right? And then he flipped Tech Levasan, so you get to get 2 attack cards and put them at the 4th and 5th slot, right? And then you had the 5 intellect, so he draws all 5 of them and 3 blues and just goes Terminator tank, Terminator tank, Terminator tank.
Ooh.
So the first Terminator tank hits for 6, discard a card. The second Terminator tank hits for 6, discard a card. The third Terminator tank hits for 6, discard a card.
Ow.
You even have a card left by the time the third one hits, which you didn't, because you shouldn't. So yeah, that's really weird that it is such a polarized matchup. Maybe there's a way that I don't think you need to focus on that. Tech Levasan's going to be a very small portion of the players, but it also shows that he could have some difficulties. Like if you think he has difficulties versus Tech Levasan, clearly he's going to have problems with Gun Dash, right? The same kind of
he doesn't want to block that
the
stuff
same
with
kind of inevitable win will happen there. Clearly he will have a problem with Recursion Leviah, because Recursion Leviah is just going to throw out these like huge like 12 damage turns over and over again once the recursion engine starts. And if she's managed to keep her life total high enough that she doesn't really care. Like you've played your Golden Suns, or she has just enough life that she doesn't die to a Golden Sun, then that recursion engine doesn't really cost her cards out of her deck, so she'll literally deck you. But I think he's really strong in a lot of other cases. I wonder what his Azalea matchup is like.
Maybe he's more of a setup hero. Maybe he's more of a setup hero, like Betsy is in Sealed. Maybe you play the tower cards in Victor in constructed formats.
Yeah, maybe
so you can go over the top of that kind of stuff.
The biggest problem about running pumps is you reduce the chance that you'll win a clash. And one of the best ways you win the game is by like blocking for 9 and then swinging for like 9. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if the longer, harder matchups, maybe we'll even see Remembrance, so you can put Golden Sun back into your deck and use it again.
I mean, everybody was thinking that he was going to be the new fatigue hero on first glance, but maybe that's not the case. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, and as far as this Azalea matchup goes, who knows? Azalea is kind of in a league of her own right now.
Mm-hmm.
She's right up there with Bravo as one of the best decks in the format, or what I expect to be one of the best decks in the format going forward. So, who's to say?
Well, hopefully we'll have some results this weekend to discuss next week.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think let's wait for the battle hardened, and the market will probably respond. People are definitely going to use it as a testing grounds. I wouldn't see why not. Go out there and throw some heroes against the wall. See
Assuming
what
they got the
sticks.
cards.
My prediction is I think ninjas are going to do well at this battle hardened.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
Of course, there's a lot of armor to get through, so I don't know. We got to figure out a way to get over all those.
But you go real wide
killers,
and they want to keep the hand for the most value. I think it'd be all right.
Bunch of Phoenix Flames help cover all of that. Tenacity punishes it a lot.
Oh, Tenacity is good.
Tenacity is a huge punish for the armor heavy meta, which is like kind of why my prediction is we might see ninjas do pretty well this weekend.
That'd be good. A lot of cards have been on the downswing. Mask Momentum was up to 90, back down to 60 right now on a WTR foil. So that's pretty crazy. Think about.
Pouncing Links may see a buff soon.
Yeah, so, being able to pick whether you want Salt the Wound or Tenacity definitely gives Pouncing Links a little bit more value. You can choose which one's going to do 8, right?
Yeah, because I was told when I first started playing the game that Pouncing Links doesn't get out of bed for less than 7 value, but the way things are looking, it may be closer to 8.
Mm-hmm.
So just to reiterate, we got the Calling Hartford this weekend, February 2nd through February 4th, which is sealed. And then there is a Battle Hardened Hartford on the 4th, which is the first CC event, which heavy hitters will be legal. And I assume we'll see the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brody himself will probably be there.
Oh, of course. I think most of the card guys are going to be there.
We'll be there, sandwich in hand, probably with the new hero, ready to absolutely decimate.
Wouldn't surprise me if he ran KO. Honestly.
Wouldn't surprise me if he won the whole thing. Like, just saying it right now. It says right here, which hero is going to win the Battle Hardened? Whatever Brody's playing. And it's Brody. I'm not joking, Brody. That's
or
my
Michael
call.
Fing. Michael Fing might be there too.
Yeah, but I'm
going to root for Sebastian.
It would be. I would love it if Sebastian won.
Look, I'm going to root for the card guys because I always root for the card guys. I love them. I love all of them.
For sure.
But there's something deep down that says if somebody's going to win,
I have a feeling Nathan's going to play a warrior. I'm not rooting for a warrior.
Oh, if it's one-handed Hatchet's Dory, I hope he wins the world. I've been wanting Hatchets.
I'm not rooting for a warrior.
I'll do it. I'll root loud enough for all of us. Don't worry about
the finals. I just tune out.
Go beat him up, Nathan. But you're playing against that secret sandwich recipe, so it's hard. It's hard to do.
How cool would it be if one of the brand new heroes from Heavy Hitters actually won the event and got LL points on release weekend?
That would be pretty cool because it would be
really cool.
I'm sure LSS would feel really validated too, because one of their the biggest critiques is that your heroes when you release them suck. Like why
Yeah.
Why would we buy the set now? Why don't we wait till 2 sets later and then we could buy it? Because we can just buy in when the boxes are cheaper, right?
Yeah, I don't think that will be the case for this set. I think Kasai makes a splash for sure at an S or an A tier, and I think KO at least makes an A tier play into the meta no matter what when it settles. And who knows? There's gonna be a lot of people testing things. The other heroes might come out too.
I'm not trying to push the FOMO, but I don't think Heavy Hitters is going to have the same negative impact that Dust Till Dawn and the last couple of sets have had on the meta. I mean, not trying to discount Dash.io and Max, who have actually done things in tournaments, but yeah, I think Heavy Hitters is going to be an all-around home run.
I think Dash.io's meta is past. I love her, but
we were talking about I think a little bit before that you're a value, but you're like way overvalued. So you're either outvaluing to the moon because you've hit the nuts, or you're falling behind because you just don't have blocks. So you can't you can't play this like usually this 2-card keep 2-card play type thing. It'd be rough.
And if you play Max in a format that has like roots in it, you just hate yourself. Like
oh yeah, they're just gonna
like
destroy
you might as well like take a little chalkboard that says how many times did I get arc smashed and just start marking it. Like so
just have somebody sign your construct every time you get arc smashed.
Yeah, I know, right? Like the most polarized game I've ever played was Leviah versus a Max who was trying to do the Mechanoid plan. I don't think I've ever played a more one-sided game of Flesh and Blood. It was very unfortunate. And I said, yeah, Max is not good right now. Because there's going to be a KO and a Reinhardt doing this stuff too.
In due time, though. In due time.
Whew.
Man,
anything else, guys?
KO doesn't even have to give up tempo to do it. He could just do smashing performance. Yeah, that's it.
Speaking of smashing performance and the fact that we talk about KO, those Scowling Flesh Bags are selling because I get emailed, and a smashing performance sold too. So nice. That means that card's probably on the rise because I put things a little higher just for when it bumps. So go get your Brute stuff, guys. I think Brute's actually gonna make a pretty big splash, which is good for all the new players out there. Hopefully you've gravitated toward one of these really fun heroes. They're all really fun. But no, I don't have anything else. I think it's a good way to end it.
End on a high note. All right, Noah, where can everybody find you?
Right now, I'm on Twitter at BigMaxFab and also at twitch.tv/LeetSoHeavy. It will be Big Max again in March, but I'll tell you guys when we finally made the swap back.
You can find me.
What about you, Thomas?
You can find me at Wet the System Fab, or anytime you see Wet the System on the internet, it's probably me.
And soon to be found on fabric.gg as well.
Yeah, it'll probably have my real name, but I'll make sure that in my bio I note that I am Wet the System.
Seems good. And as usual, I am Donnie K, aka Draco Hominis 87 on just about every social media you want to look me up on. I write regularly for fabric.gg. The next article is going to be a coverage review of Calling Hartford. Not really sure how I'm going to write that since it's going to be a limited calling, but we'll figure something out. We'll make it work somehow. If you see the Siblings in Cardboard podcast, a flesh and blood podcast on some live stream, probably for Calling Hartford, most likely gonna be me. Could be one of these other guys, but if you say Donnie and we don't answer, it's one of them. But you'll probably get me.
I'll still answer and be like, absolutely, it's me.
Yeah, I'll just pretend.
I'll keep up the facade. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so don't test it because they'll just troll. Hurt.
It's always Donnie. Just let it be known. No matter who it is,
Usually.
it's always.
It doesn't matter if it's Donnie. It's Donnie. Okay,
it's Donnie.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We hope you enjoyed catching up with us this week, and if you did, subscribe or follow depending on where you found us to catch us again next time. Until then, take care of yourself, and remember, we are all siblings in cardboard.
Thank you, Patreons. We love you.
Yeah,
we love
thank
you
you
all. And discard your cards. You got to do it anyway. A lot of pummels coming in this meta. I'll be watching.